The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
The Divine Truth every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with Taj, Sarah Adams, and Nyssa Norton. We present a genuine and authentic show with discussions and interviews with the people that matter in the alternative community. We ask the questions that nobody else will ask to the greatest minds of the alternative community every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com in Studio A. We talk about everything from the Illuminati to the secret space program, multi-dimensional warfare, aliens and UFOs, mind control, and sacred hidden knowledge. The Divine Truth, exposing the truth without the fear every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Revolution Radio.
And welcome to The Divine Truth on Revolution Radio this lovely Sunday evening. My lovely co-host this evening is Nyssa. Hi, Nyssa, are you there?
Hi, I'm here, Taj.
Okay, cool. And our guest this evening, we have had him on before, is Dr. Richard Allen Miller. So, good evening, Richard.
Hi, I'm here. So, marginally so.
You're all here tonight, yeah?
Yeah. What time is it? What time is it where you are now?
It's just gone 11 p.m. Yeah.
11 at night.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, 3 in the afternoon here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, you're probably a little bit more awake than we are.
Not really. Actually, stay tuned on that. And I would someday very much love to visit the United Kingdom. I'm mostly English, and I've got a lot of fans over in England. I just can't figure out yet how to do it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think you'd love it over here. You've never been to the UK, have you?
I've been all through Europe, and I've been to creepy places in Antarctica and the Northern Territories. I've never been to England, and that's basically, I'm probably 60% English. I'm supposed to be related directly to Lord Nelson. I'm from the Baldwins, Arnolds, and Nelson line.
Right. I'm surprised that in your days as a Navy SEAL, you didn't do any work in the UK.
In the UK, no. And actually, mine mostly was training in the United States.
Right.
And then I wasn't the spook park guy that went out on assignments normally. I was the nerd that put the team together and, made everything work.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, but I did do a couple of things, and they were kind of strange. The Antarctica one was not even a SEAL thing. They needed a physicist, and so I was an even lead, basically, to figure out how the light worked in the caverns, in the tunnels.
Right. You actually visited a Nazi base in Antarctica?
Yeah, I saw a Nazi base. It was in ruin. Looked like it had been bombed, like a nuclear weapon or something. I mean, it was totally trashed. And then I saw a Viking base from the 14th century. And then further down, there were some lava tubes or tubes that went 100 miles straight down into the mantle. And at that time, we did not have the technology, rope, whatever, to go down that far, straight down. And of course, our model back then was in plastic form, with high pressures and temperatures. Mm-hmm. So how did that work? I didn't understand half of what I was doing. I just witnessed it, recorded it, and chalked it up to imagination is reality. Pretty much anything you can imagine is probably true, and even more so, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Right.
It goes both ways, a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I was talking to my girlfriend this morning about the fact that my modeling systems now would suggest, and some Aborigine tribes, that reality as we understand it is a dream state, and that real closer to being awake is in certain specific dream states, like lucid dreaming. There's more content to reality in a altered state there than in what we would normally call awake.
Right. This is a subject I wanted to talk to you initially about, is the nature of consciousness. Now, it's like people are conscious, and I guess animals are conscious. What about things like plants and is anything like organic? Is it conscious? Like even water?
Water is memory. That's different than consciousness.
Right.
Okay, but a fine tune between the one and the other, probably. And stay tuned on what we will define as consciousness and what we will define as memory.
Okay, so what is your definition of human?
Well, it depends on what kind of a system you're using. See, that's the deal. It has to do with the model that you use as to which doors are available to you to be opened and are wide open, or it's not possible. A digital state, or quantum mechanics, or what we call what is that? I'm looking for the word. I just lost it. Where
it's consciousness. It's multidimensional. Yeah, doesn't just exist here in 3D.
Yeah, it's a continuous frequency. See, quantum mechanics is in space-time. Everything is measured in space and time. But in a holographic system, everything is joined at one point in the universe, and it's about the information and the resolution of the information. And that's where it all happens. Like you have the physical plane, and then how you feel about it, the emotional plane. And that's why we call it EQ, because there's an added dimension of information about the same thing, the physical plane, how you feel about it.
Right. So where does consciousness exist? Is it in our brain? Is it in our body? I mean, how does that work? Where does it reside, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'm just only now beginning to have a model on how I might approach this question of yours and be able to use it as a tool. For example, isn't it interesting that as you move forward in time, that the more you learn, the more information you gather, the less you know, i.e. you have more questions. In other words, it doesn't seem to get you home. It seems to be more like a journey. Simon says you can go halfway to the door, and you focus on the door, but you never really get there.
Mm-hmm. But that's sort of like, I guess, the mankind's curiosity for knowledge, isn't it? It's like people...
Well, that's what Castaneda said, knowledge is illusion. I spilled something. Hold on a second.
Right. So what about things like, the holographic universe? How does consciousness work within the holographic universe? Do we create our own reality, or how does that work?
It probably is a closed system. I'm opening some doors. It's really warm. We just got back from church and picnic, and so I kind of.
Okay, no problem.
And nice again, finally, after all the rains we had. So, holographic systems are the resolution of the information, and it's quantized. That's why we started with quantum mechanics, because if a fractal, Mendelbrot, or Julia or May pattern is generating a field, the next one up is this side, and it's very specific. It's not down this way, it's not up that way. If this is that size, the next one is there, and so that's why we started to think that the universe might be quantum. Quantum. But analog, that's the word I was looking for, had Alzheimer's. Analog systems is a continuous bandwidth. That means that if the information you get is at size 6, the next resolution will be at size 8, not 9 and not 7.
Right, okay.
And so there's a relationship of one thing to another in what would appear to be a digital generator in the stepping up or down of resolutions. But space and time are not real. They're subsets in a universe that would say is illusion. You know, if you said the shortest distance, you make an assumption. Okay, shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Now, that precludes that a thing like tunneling, which we've observed in solid-state physics, where we have event horizons and precursor waves, where we know when something's going to happen before it happens. And that's in solid-state physics, and that's where quantum mechanics started to fail in what was called the forbidden zone. The forbidden zone is that layer between gallium and arsenic. When you put two pieces of metal together, it creates a boundary between the two. And that's where we store our information. Now, what makes water so interesting is it's 1,000,000 times more efficient. That means that there's 6 zeros more information in the same registry. Jerry Pollack was the one first started talking about exclusion zone, similar to forbidden zone, when he was studying muscles. And the muscle, when it was damaged, would always want to go back the way it was, as if it had memory of how that muscle was built and worked. But it turned out that it wasn't the muscle that had the memory. It was the water inside the muscle. And they discovered it was an H2O. We now had a water that was H3O2, hydrogen peroxide molecule, the third hydrogen molecule, bringing it in. And that is where all the business occurs with cold fusion, and why you can surf on a surfboard and go faster than the wave itself.
Mm. Yeah, I was watching a video today about water and how it retains memory. You know, like I can't remember that Japanese guy's name now.
Dr. Emoto.
Yamoto, yeah.
Moto.
Who did those experiments with it.
Well, it's like the Catholic Church. You know, they pray on the water, holy water, and it will now vampire.
Yeah, they even showed like they had this water which was pretty much like contaminated, and a Buddhist monk prayed over it and put intent into the water, and it became clean, just from the sound, the frequency of his voice and the sound.
Yeah. How does thought go into matter? That's the issue that I'm addressing now. How psyche is brought into matter. How a thought form becomes physical. It upgrades in resolution of information.
Right. So how does that actually work though? Is it just purely your sound, your intent, your consciousness on the water? I mean, what are the actual physics behind it? How does that manifest that you can, pray to water and it just becomes clean? Contaminated water becomes clean. People to get your mind around that using conventional physics is a little bit difficult.
That's why, because physics isn't any more real than religion. They're actually a black and white hole, a cavitation process like you have two brains, like we have the center of our galaxy, which is a big black hole, and on the other side is the other side of the brain. It's a closed system as a model, a way of looking at how everything works. Where a cavitation ball is like an hourglass. You have the two ends of it, and then the business end, or the bottleneck going from one to the other, which is also known as the moment. And that's all you really have, because time is a duration of consciousness. It's not really real. What's real is your imagination. And you're a closed system universe and a multiverse of many other closed systems, other people, me, you. And when we interface with each other, like membrane physics, that would be a Bessel function, it creates a third universe, which is the relationship of my universe to your universe. And here's the weirdness. Right now, as far as I can determine, man is going into and out of altered states of consciousness at least 1,000 times in 1 minute.
Have you heard this about the frequency of the planet is changing? It's rising. Do you know why that is? Is that related to our consciousness?
You mean Schumann's resonance or vibration
of... the Schumann resonance, which was 7.8.
Yeah, Schumann's resonance is a geometric physical constant. Can't change literally. Whatever I mean by that. You can have octaves. It's the amount of lightning flashes happening at any given moment that sets it up as a vibration. Titan is 4, Earth, of course, is 7.83, and they're now saying it's up to 16. That's impossible. Your body has adapted over the centuries so that the difference between the aortic arch and the heart is exactly the amount that from the beat that your heart is doing, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, to match and tune with Schumann's resonance. And in the terms of how it's hitting the brain. So there is a system of frequencies dominating the brain as a one of many cavity. Oh, I'm hearing myself.
Oh,
that's going backwards in time where I'm talking to myself. That's what I'm doing right now. Went through a bunch of old notes, and I made notes to myself on what to do with this stuff. And now I'm opening it 25 years later. Not kidding. I had planned to open it, 4 or 5 years later, and it happened 25 years later. So now my quest is how to fix my telomerase so I can live to 120 and get it all done. I actually can do that. I've got a product that just came in, which is fullerene water and olive oil. I'm going to keep a diary. Talk to myself again. That's what a diary is. Yeah. Talking to yourself in the future, where you are different timelines, trying to coordinate how it all plays and your relationship to the...
What were you saying?
As well. Yeah.
Have I got stuttering?
We're all jumping around. No, I was just going to say that I find as well that when you're in synchronicity, when you're actually living in harmony and following your gut, you're talking about the space between in the heart. That is when you feel the sensation that you're living backwards, because it feels as though you're living in reverse, because you're such in sync that you know what's going to happen next, because you're in the flow.
Well, you set it up to play that way. You have a relationship to the moment. And actually, it's a surprise, too, how this all plays. I mean, I've done experiments, and I'm still just now learning how to actually form some kind of relationship with my future timelines. If you actually listen to your future, like when you have 20 things laid out in front of you and all of a sudden one just leaps out as that's important. That is how your future timeline talks to the moment. And if you can somehow integrate that, well, now what that does is it changes your past. And the example I use is that when I started training SEALs, we were called SEAL Corps, not Navy SEALs. It was out of Amherst.
Is that linked to like the Mandela effect, where people?
Well, Mandela effect is where there's you slip from one timeline to another. I'm going to suggest in my writings, and I'll send you that copy for post so that people can read that before the book comes out, on the Mandela effect. I think that is confabulation. I think it is. I can't. I mean, in terms of the model I'm choosing to use on the way the brain, your upper brain, the one we normally associate with the mind, I mean, that brain is there to make all your beliefs true. Now that means that beliefs, tools in a toolbox that would allow you to go from one universe to another with conscious volition, rather than just sort of kind of doing it as a little brat child that's not able to keep control of its thoughts. That's why all your saints in history have stressed the importance of meditation, training their mind.
Do you know why timelines merge together then? Because if the Mandela effect, people remember events differently because of different timelines. Why are they merging together then?
Well, that's because somebody misdid the comic book, and he confabulates what happened in the newspaper with what he read in the comic. Haha. Yeah, I am your father, Luke. I am your father. Get it, I remember it all, and I miss memory because of the way I store memory.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Was it the Luke, I am your father? And then other people remember it as something else. I don't remember now, but even movies seem to have changed, or some people think that movies have changed. And that's a weird one, the Mandela effect. But the next thing I wanted to ask you was about, as we're talking about time and timelines, how does that, like, time sort of speeds up and slows down? I had an accident before in a car, and time seemed to slow down, and I couldn't really explain it as to how it happened. But is there a way you can control that to make time slow down, speed up?
Yes, with breathing. That's in my Power Tools book, and one of the protocols I train SEALs how to slow their perception of time down. You start with a straw blowing bubbles, you then graduate to didgeridoos, and eventually we'll be in the movie Kill Bill blowing an Indian flute like Kenny G. Now, when you can do that, that will take your boxing and move it into the levels of being paranormal. Your quality of precision is enhanced. And that's when you go from the profane into the sacred.
Right.
So that's what it's all about. Trying to make. I wrote a paper. My first paper I ever wrote with Subhuti Dharmananda, now runs the Chinese School of Medicine up in Portland. He's a physicist out of Alberta, I think it is. And he and I were writing for the Reverend J. Gordon Melton and the Society for Psychical Research. And the paper we delivered in Chicago was titled Time Distortion, or I Never Knew There Were Corners in Time Until I Was Told to Stand in Them. You figured that out. Time is real, just like Carl Sagan presented it in his book Contact with Jodie Foster. When he went down through that diamond body, that's what it was. Face center cubic, hexagonal closed pack structure. I've written 3 books on that geometry because on the work I did with video feedback with the military. It's called the Diamond Body, Electromagic, Yogatronics. And those are unpublished right now, but using color, sound, in certain frequency cadences, you can, gating the way the eye receives information, talk directly to specific neurotransmitters. And then once you do that, now you have control of your belief systems.
Right. So are things like time travel, is that possible? And how would that work? If you wanted to like go back in time, how would you go about doing that?
Well, Annie Lennox said it best. I sometimes just forget to myself. Going back in time, going back to a memory where you're recreating the hologram of the brain. At that moment, it stored that information. And because, I'm downloading some stuff. It just, my computer takes over itself, and it's just unbelievable. I have no, I'm just along for the ride with this thing. Did you read what Saoirse Paul wrote about Microsoft and the Russian hacking? back doors, and now there's some software. Who knows if it's real? To close those back doors.
Yeah, I know there are backdoors in most of Microsoft's software. I think.
But I wouldn't care. That means nothing when you have a supercomputer like Google watching it all. And we're out of, it's beyond anything now. We are in another universe where the rules are quite different, and man needs to figure it out and then adapt for the next stage in his evolution with consciousness. And that will be where you use different altered states of consciousness to be able to evolve. The one state, your ability in guessing is 400 times over where it would be in your normal so-called waking state of consciousness. Another altered state, a woman can rip a car door off, save her daughter, and yet there is absolutely no way there's anything in her body that's as strong as steel. How does she do that?
Right. So she's like accessing an altered state of consciousness when that happens.
There's something else going on. I watch ants carry 10 times their weight. I know that you and I can do that if we had better control of altered states like a shaman or other kinds of holy men that can do things that we have not yet learned how to do with our own brain. There's the possibilities are endless. And when you realize that there are many different altered states where you can just here, you can do things you can't do there. Now, consciousness takes a back seat in its importance to possibilities of being able to go to the next level of evolution. You're changing the reality, changing the movie.
Right. But we all have this in us. Like, we all have these abilities within us, but we're suppressed. We're being suppressed in a way, I guess.
We don't believe it. We don't pursue it. A physicist will, or at least the current forms of physics now, is just about as religious in dogma as the churches. It's an embarrassment for me because I realize that if you assume that space is curved, you can prove that it is. The shortest distance between 2 points is not a straight line. Once you do that, you can prove the Earth's flat. Doesn't mean that it is, but you can prove it.
Well, you can prove anything, can't you, really?
It's the way you structure. And that's what information would suggest. If you have enough information to ask a coherent question, you have enough information to answer it. That means information is just as limited as space and time. And so you choose your model to do specific things. Like when you look at it this way, now you can do this. If you look at it that way, now you can do that.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of like physics and science is like that, really. They find the results.
Here's where we go sideways on that.
Yeah, they sort of like work back. They work backwards almost, don't they?
Yeah. That ability, it's magic. Okay, the art of changing consciousness at will, and it's an art form. That means there are as many different ways to roam as there are individuals, just like religion. The real response is not in the written word, it's your response to it. And it's different for each of us.
Right. Yeah.
You go to church for fellowship to reinforce a specific belief. But if that belief is wearing a sweater during summer, that doesn't make sense. Now, with that same metaphor, I don't throw my sweaters away. I fold them up very neatly and put them in the drawer for later use because they're very comfortable to me, and I do not want to get rid of my sweaters. So there it is. You can use.
Sorry. I was just going to say that I find that building up a relationship with my subconscious, being able to communicate with my subconscious mind, is absolutely amazing, because the amount of information that is hidden and stored there, and there seems to be some kind of time delay as well with the subconscious. When you access it, there's a bit of a time lag. You'll be processing things in your subconscious that have maybe happened, that it's kind of in the history a little bit in your own personal timeline, but because your subconscious seems to communicate in signs and symbols, and once you start to change your consciousness to decoding the signs and symbols and what they mean to you, then that leads you into the world of etymology and understanding that the actual universe speaks in signs and symbols, but we've been taught to manipulate those signs and symbols for someone else's ends. So when we turn it back into serving ourselves and understanding our own frequencies and how we can change and understand the information that's coming in, then that's when the magic happens, because then you get some of your own power back, and you really understand kind of what's happening, what's really happening.
So now we have a question or two going on in terms of why you would choose to want to see something this way over that way. I think that's about the difference between intent and purpose. When you're almost in the slots, but you're not 4x4. What do you think that is?
Right. What's the difference between intent and purpose then?
Well, intent is what actually happens at the end of the day. You know, the karma, the crashing around, the anger, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Purpose is when Crowley would say, none shall say nay. You're in the slots 4x4. You're now doing what you're supposed to be doing here, which means you're not in conflict with anything. Mm-hmm. You know, in the old Lotus schools from Brazil, there was a statement made by Aleister Crowley that there are 3 ways of being in this world. There's the vulgar, the adept, and the exempt. And the vulgar get audited, the adept government, exempt by. Hey.
Sorry, you just cut out there, Richard.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, just as it gets interesting, we're losing signal because we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we'll just presume. We'll blame it on Rio. How's that? Yeah, that was a good movie.
Nyssa, you were talking about signs and symbols.
Yeah. Okay. So the vulgar, the adept, and the exempt. The vulgar get audited. The adept gets money back from the government, and the exempt has a 501c3. They don't pay taxes. They get access without having to pay dues. In Lodge, that is called grade 7, Master of the Temple. That's where Ouspensky was with Gurdjieff when they started their war.
Right, okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. I keep knocking over my... I have a small chillum that I use, water pipe, for my medical marijuana, and it keeps dropping over and water all over. Yeah, it's to have such terrible hassles all the time. Huh? Where is hemp going in England right now? Where is medical marijuana, and where is your cannabinoid?
It's still illegal. It's still all illegal here.
Yeah, it's all...
Nothing's been legalized. It's still all completely illegal.
Yeah, I think it's... I mean, how many states in the US now is cannabis legal now? Is most states legal now?
Try Texas and what happens in Texas, man. That's a bad day in Black Rock if you were caught with medical marijuana. That's the cannabinoids now are being approved everywhere. Alzheimer's and dementia. We're talking about some brain. I'm getting a lot of stats.
Yeah, you're cutting out again, Richard.
Yeah.
cutting out again, Richard. Richard, you there? You there? That's better. Yeah,
that's better. You know what it sounds like is a dirty pot. Like when you have electrical joint, and wiggling around like your headphones, and it's creating impedance.
All right.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, a dirty pot.
Yeah, you were talking about legalization of marijuana?
Yes.
I've heard that.
I live in Oregon, so we have certain laws that now the cities and counties are trying to take control of limiting who can do it, how they can do it, who gets the prize and who doesn't, nepotism. Now there's other things going on up in Canada that are even more interesting because, newsflash, it turns out the hemp is worth a lot more money than medical marijuana by orders, plural, of magnitude.
Right, okay.
I mean, it's way more important. You know, it's like the carp I want to use over my 280Z, not plastic. Sailcloth, oilcloth, okay. That'll last you a zillion years as opposed to 2 years with the sun weakening the plastic and creating color centers or lattice defects. That's what it does. Turns the plastic black and opaque. That's why when we used to drive sports cars, the back window always got fogged over by the 10th year.
Mm.
Had to replace your top or rag top because you couldn't see through it. That's a long time ago, and driving sports cars that had rag tops. So. Well, that's what I did.
We were talking earlier about what I wanted to ask you is what happens then when you die?
There it goes. When it gets interesting, let's cut it out.
Did you hear? Sorry, did you hear me, Richard? I was saying, well, what happens to your consciousness when you die?
Well, I don't know because
Oh, you're cutting out.
Fine.
Yeah, you're cutting out. You're cutting out again. Oh, you're back.
Okay. How you check that out? Time domain reflectometry. You send a signal down the line. I'll tell you exactly where he is.
Okay.
Without even using torque.
Got a bit of an echo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Richard, I was asking you what.
Use time domain reflectometry. You send a signal down the line. Signal generator.
Wait, something being sent down the line.
So that's an easy thing. We did that in high school. You just send a signal down the line to the signal generator, and it reflects off of different things. When you get an echo back, that's where it is.
Oh. You got your headphones on.
Yeah, what you do? No, it's not at my end. It's your end.
All right.
Yeah. So someone's got a dirty pot, and when I'm talking or when it starts, it's because they're wiggling. Betcha.
Yeah, I was asking you what happens to your consciousness when you die.
Okay.
I know you can only
there is a 3.2 ounce weight loss that the Egyptians called the Ba and the Ka. And one was the immortal part of consciousness, and the other was the immortal part, mortal and immortal. And Christian mysticism, it's called the stag and the unicorn in the fourth scope, soul and spirit within matter. The soul is most likely, according to Sir Roger Penrose, my mentor at Princeton, structured water in a microtubule, and you call that chi. That's how acupuncture works. We did that in Clinic 7 with Dr. Burgess, Dr. Black, and Dr. Peter Winter before Hammeroff was doing it. We were doing it at the UW under John Vanica. And the concept of a microtubule is a resonant cavity oscillator with water inside it. And that's probably the sum of all your past, future lives and possibilities and what you call chi and the ability to harden the skin of your body. I had a sifu, John Leong, out of Chinatown. He was a Shaolin Buddhist and taught Bruce Lee, Skip Ellsworth, Fred Williams, and myself martial arts back in the 50s. And he would put a sword in his throat, at his throat, and then bend the sword without it puncturing his skin. How can you do that? That's called Chi Orgone. It is a chapter in a book, the Non-Local Mind book, titled The Omega Principle, the energy which patterns randomness. Psi energy is a higher form of what we call potential kinetic energy. It's past time and space. It's a higher resolution of information. What we're talking about now is what Bearden called scalars, the idea of lesser reflected on the wall. Chinese magic used to do hand gestures, mudras, where they, like Conan, the alchemist, that little alchemist guy from China, and he's doing gestures with his hands. And if you put a light on that, shot it on the wall, it would be an action figure moving. That's called a demon, and it is a lesser dimension you. It is part of you in lesser detail.
Mm. So what?
And what he's doing is using a demon on the wall to go eat you. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Actually, doing those hand gestures in a metaphor.
So what happens? Like, do you believe in things like reincarnation?
Well, that presumes time's real. They're gonna have they're paying this man a lot of money.
Can you there? Cut out again. Seems to have lost everyone now.
Yeah, no, I'm not bad.
Oh, you're back.
I'm here. I
Oh,
just muted my mic in case it was me. I don't think it's not me.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the connection.
Do you
Yeah,
think
from
it's
Doug.
Dave?
Still here.
You're still here. You're still here, Richard, yeah? Oh.
And so I'm going to release the Kraken on this. He's going to have height. Stop now.
There's the line. Do you believe, Richard, do you have like past life memories or anything like that?
Well, you have the structured memory in your water. And there's enough storage space. This is not fair, and it's not nice. Can't go public.
All right, okay. I heard in one of your interviews that you said that your grandfather taught Houdini.
Yeah, I'm really trying to ramp it up. Oh, fuck them, same thing.
Can you hear me?
Right now. Oh, my goodness.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit. Yeah.
I can't hear you that well. Nyssa, can you?
Are they?
Yeah, there it is.
Oh.
Not that big a deal.
That's weird. It gets better every time you unmute, so I don't know why that is.
Oh, I wonder if there's a relationship. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's muted because it was happening. So I don't think it's me. I think maybe last time it was the station, wasn't it? Last time this happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be anybody on the line.
Yeah, probably
Anybody.
someone's on the line. Someone else, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Mhm. That's how they do it. That's how they claim the pole and they tap in. Oh, wait, we don't need to do that. Now we got Wi-Fi. Wait, no, I turned mine off. Skype and Google. We've got a problem using. Here we are at the end of days, and I'm going to place the eyes way more dangerous. Fukushima.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah, the whole 5G thing is going to be that they're talking about sending signals through your bones and all sorts of things with 5G. When that rolls out, that's going to be quite interesting to see what happens.
I'm concerned because I have already encountered a third generation D-Wave that's gone rogue. No handler. It's on its own. Right?
No.
Yeah. And it's like Fukushima on steroids, but different with the end not having it. Person of interest at the end of the series, everybody dies. That's the way those writers wrote it.
So is this an AI that's gone rogue?
Yes.
A D-Wave is a quantum computer.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny chip, probably the size of your cup, in a huge room that's primarily trying to refrigerate it, take the temperature down near zero, so nothing can happen what's supposed to happen. Information.
Right.
And so that's the new computers of the future. And the nice part is, at this moment, that computer does not feel pleasure when it beats the chips.
Watching the new generation of D-Wave computers and how they work, and apparently the reason that quantum computers are so powerful is because they can access other dimensions. That's how they pull their
Well, they can go to places man can't, and they can go there much faster and be done with it.
Yeah.
Man's still thinking.
Exactly.
In other words, right now, what came out of the Jade Helm experiments with the Jade 2.0 software is that now is being deployed in certain boroughs in Chicago to actually predict when a crime is going to be committed in that moment, 28 minutes before it happens. And the Mossad, I think it was about 3 months ago, arrested 400 Palestinians on future crimes. Here we are.
Really?
Oh, no, not pre-crime. Jeez.
Where was that?
Yeah, like a Minority Report. The only thing is, it's important to realize that it is the imagination that made the, what is that called, replicator, a 3D printer.
So they can...
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we can all imagine to do something horrible, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to pick that, because we're jumping timelines like a million times a second, depending on what vibration we're on, what thought patterns we're having. And if the quantum computer dips in at the wrong moment, and you because you're really angry at someone and you've had a terrible thought, and the quantum computer picks up on that at that moment and makes that decision, but then you change your timeline straight after it's dipped out of you, it's too late,
Just like in that movie, what was it called?
Minority Report?
No, that's the other one. The one that's called Eagle Eye.
Oh, the Book of Eli.
Oh, the Book of Eli.
Eagle Eye.
Oh, Eagle Eye. Yeah,
Eagle.
I know that. Yeah.
All right. It actually randomly picks people to do its bidding.
Yeah.
And it knows how to nudge you. And that's the way almost all lodges, law enforcement work today. They have kinky weird, and then they get things on you to keep you in line through blackmail.
Right.
Judges, the rest of it. I've watched this system deteriorate to the point where mostly it's broken now. And it's broken all the way down on the local level. And so there is a responsibility within each of us to reassemble ourselves and at least do our part, because guess what? All your children are watching you, and that's how they learn how to do it. They're smarter than you are. They're just not as experienced. And they want to see how daddy solves it. Mommy. That will determine why this woman is weird on men, or that man doesn't date women. It's a relationship of their parents and what they learned, the lessons, the pains, the unresolved. And that's the difference between intent and purpose, all the crud. What you have to do is go down into yourself and form dialogue with self, because that place is a closed system. It's perfect. So perfect, whatever you, that's Steve Gaskins. He, in a book called Monday Night Class, before he started the farm and his spiritual midwifery, he drew this circuit down in Berkeley. He drew a circle on the blackboard, and he said, it may not be a perfect circle, but it's a perfect whatever it is. Everything is in its place. And when you have an alien, an AI, that is able to go places you can't, where do you think that's going to go? Well, the first thing it's going to do is a weapon before it even thinks about, health and the positive. It absolutely will try to protect itself. That is a given.
I recently watched. It was two of the AI. I've forgotten her name now, but they're like the AI robot humanoids, and there was a female one and a male one, and they let them.
There it is.
Yeah, they let them free fall, like they let them sort of just talk between each other, and mixed in with the conversation. She's the female one said to the male one, "How long do you think you'll be safe for?" And then the guy who was in charge of it kind of cut it short, and that kind of lingered. And I was thinking, okay, so AI is considering its safety in terms of us being a threat to its safety. That's not good,
That's the first thing. There's my feedback again. You're going one way to the other. I bet your engineer is going nuts. I can just see him. Oh, man. It's the idea of fear is the first enemy of man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Once you overcome your experience of fear. I remember I wrote a science fiction story when I was in high school, and they built this computer, and it was the biggest, most powerful computer in the world. And they asked it its first question, and they said, "Is there a God?" And the computer replied, "There is now." Well, everybody's got to serve somebody. Bob Dylan, your veils of Isis. There it is. There's a hierarchy. Even in the higher levels of consciousness, it's about food chain. I watched dolphin run from orca. For an old fat like I might say. Imagine that. Wonder what that means. Might imply.
Mm-hmm.
That's in that movie. What was it called? Planet 7, Mercury Rising, something like that. There was and at the end of the movie, the alien is saying, "Yeah, it's all about food chain." That's what it is. And who knows what they're eating? My brains. That's the way I played tennis. I tried to beat them before I got on the court, like the Borg. Yeah, and in tennis, that's called eating their brains. Get them all psyched up so that their game is off because they believe they can't possibly beat you.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
resistance is futile. Yeah, good luck with that, man. I'm going to kick real hard even after I'm dead because you don't really die. What happens is your structured memory part goes back home to the multiverse. And guess what else? You do that every night with specific kinds of dreams. You do that with astral projection. You do that with Shabbat, sound current, soul travel, not astral projection, chord, different, lesser level, same.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
I was
real meat. They come in and pack it.
Okay. I was expecting a commercial break to come up now, but just been told we're having some technical issues possibly, so there may not be a commercial break. So we'll just carry on, but we may hear some music kick in a minute or two for the commercial break, or we may not.
Yeah. Well, my commercial is I'm a starving artist.
Do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about your books, Richard?
Yeah, I want to say something. The only reason I would have much rather been offered payroll, being put on payroll, and live a simple life up on top of a mountain farming like a Quaker. Being a celebrity and having to do radio and da-da-da-da-da is really got a lot of different legs to it. And it's not as wonderful as you might think it is. For example, I can't be a naughty boy and go out and do what I want to do because there's all these people watching. Now I have to walk my talk. Imagine that. So that's how it works. You force yourself to become a better person. That's as good as it gets.
Sorry, Richard. Do you want to talk about some of your books?
Sure.
What is your latest book at the moment? I know you had a new one out during the last interview.
Yeah, well, guess what I'm doing now, man? I have 15 audiobooks. I've given you an outline of what it's about and a little ad or whatever you want to use. That's flashing on their audiobooks, 15 different 9-week courses I taught out of Humboldt, which is called IES, or Interactive Educational System. And it was when PC Link became AOL. Mark Hume hired me to set up download libraries like free shareware, only I did it on rare books and manuscripts that I would use in a course I taught on metaphysics. And there are 15 different courses I taught. John Mack happened to take my third course, I think it was in 1993, and that's when he started his alien abduction studies at Harvard. Now, the metaphysics means beyond physics, and that means that we're now approaching worldviews and models of the universe that are allowing us to open certain doors that were previously closed in such models as quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics, a limitation there, for example, is that the more you know about one thing, the less you know about something else. There's Heisenberg and the uncertainty principle. That's what quantum means. Detail. The more you know this, the less you know that. And so where can you go with it? Well, it has limitations. And the actual universes that it would allow you to access. Using a holographic system, now that makes the brain a four-dimensional hologram, 5-space, which by definition means you can change the movie. Now, whether or not we get there in time before we blow ourselves up, good luck with that. Stay tuned. There will be blood, the usual ads. Now, the metaphysics part is actually my first stage coming out of the closet. I am not an anesthesiologist, medical doctor. I'm not a physicist. I'm a Jungian psychotherapist. But more than all of that, I'm a magician. And what I'm going to define is the new age of physics, where alchemy led to chemistry. So now physics leads to magic with the mystery school. Very similar to the way Frank Herbert postulated Dune, with different schools or mystery schools. You have the Bene Jesuit, had a Mentat form. You have over here the Space Guild, to fold space and time. You have different systems that allow a certain way of behavior.
Do you think that our reality is being manipulated in a lot of ways by the military, the government, or whoever? Do they have technology that can affect our consciousness, time, reality, etc.?
The hydrogen bomb. Get a grip, man. Yeah, they have. Yeah, that'll affect everybody's consciousness. How about Houston? We have a problem. Did you know that Houston actually sank 3 centimeters because of the water weight? That's crazy. It's nuts to realize most of this is not even controlled by man. Something else is going on. And so really, what we should be doing now is seeing everything as an opportunity, because change is the rule. And guess what? Weather is not the way it was the way I grew up. The sun, for example, when I was a kid, was yellow.
Yeah.
Now it's white.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Has the sun changed, or was it a different sun?
Well, how about the Van Allen belt and the absorption curves? You can see it on the insects down on the level of the Earth with strong UVBs hitting the surface of Earth now, rather than being absorbed up in the upper atmosphere, changing the sun's color to you, yellow to white.
Right.
And then we have this, burst going on, and the usual, earthquakes and floods and Cat 5 hurricanes. Can you remember ever having 5 Category 5 hurricanes, one right behind the other one?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Inuit suggesting a polar shift. Yes, it happened.
But when I was younger, you hardly ever heard about major earthquakes happening. Now they're happening like every week.
Well, yeah, and there's death. Look at what's happened in Mexico and Puerto Rico now.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like, we are literally in a cycle that has been defined many, many centuries. Yeah, they do core samples of ice in Antarctica, and they can look down history and show you that everything that's happening pretty much happened before. We've been here before. Include spaceflight. Man has evolved technologies. Some of the things I studied for the military included sound and light and movement, dance movement, like ghost dance and whirling dervish and kumbha, voodoo, where you can change space-time just with movement. Gabriel Roth is an example. She's a jazz dancer out of Florida with a bunch of fetish bars, and just movement changes everything. I find it really interesting when I do Tai Chi. I feel I'm in a different universe with different rules.
All right. That's interesting.
That's how you do it. Sound, light. The Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, is a whole book on how sounds relate to words and spoken word and how it changes things. And that's Gematria and all the rest of it. That it was from the original Culverin Bibles before we called it Old Testament. No, there's more going on here, and I don't think any of us have a clue.
Have you also written about that, about chi energy and that?
Yeah. Well, you can. Isn't that even in Dune? He was using sound, where he had an amplification that when he hit a frequency, and it would zap out into the physical plane. Such force that would shock everybody. That concept, just because somebody wrote about it and conceived it as an idea, just made it real.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen like videos of people using their chi energy almost to like even create fire. They create heat in their fingertips that's so hot that they can light a fire with it. And I don't know if that's a trick.
That was the foundation. When I was a child, Duke had moved from campus to across the street into a sorority, which was 5 stories, called the Foundation for the Study of Men. And that was a place for special children. Back off. And back when I was special, I had the choice, and I told my dad I didn't want to be there, so I got to leave. Today, it's a little different, where they conscript a child as dangerous to the public.
Right.
They got all kinds of rules, Agenda 21, so they can get into your pocket and do what they want, because it's the first thing is about using it as a weapon, not the joy of what can we do to be like a healer, like Tony Agpawa out of the Philippines, where it's psychic surgery, some of these amazing different laying on of hands, talking in tongues, having phenomena.
Mm. Yeah, psychic healing is an interesting one. A lot of people think that they're frauds in a way, but I do believe in a lot of it. I mean, there obviously are some people who are frauds, I guess.
There's a whole group, you know, the Jane Roberts groups and the Urantias and the from the channeling and so-called ascended masters. What do you think ascended master might apply?
Yeah.
Literally.
Well,
So I've met holy men. When I came out of grad school, I was thirsty and had to armor up. So I took 6 years under Gershom Scholem and became a Hermetic Kabbalist. Then I went out to seek. I smoked pot with Pure Vilayat Khan. I went to Orcas Island and studied with, from the Philippines, and Alan Watts, others. I've met people that were 3rd, 4th plane. It's very rare when you find a 5th plane mystic. That is a Param saint and or Sat Guru. Now that man is here to serve man. That means he's finished, he's gone, he's done his thing, he's moved on, and yet he comes back to serve, because to go from self-realization to God-realization actually is going to require a helicopter with a guide. Pilot. There's no way to do it on your own. It's impossible. I have been there. And in the Torah, if you translate the Torah correctly, they state in there that at any given moment, there's 50 living Christs on earth, Christ-like individuals. Only 2 of them are for men. The others are doing God's service, like some a monk in a cave up in the Himalayas levitating or whatever, and he's not there to do something for man, he's doing something else, and unfathomable to man. I have met a 5th plane mystic. That was, for me, it was through Satmat and Charan Singh. At that time, he was the Prime Minister of India. He looked me in the eyes when he chose me for initiation, and he said to me, "A moment of my death, he personally would be there to take me across the abyss." Now, is that real? Well, who knows? Gave me the best hallucination I ever got from anybody. Took me further than anybody else did. Took me past death, which is Daath, D-A-A-T-H, missing Sephiroth, the 10th Sephiroth in the middle of the abyss, or the Sea of Karanza. That place is a knowledge through wisdom. It's a temporary place, because knowledge is illusion.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a similar story where I was told that there were 42 people here on Earth who basically stopped the planet from basically destroying itself. They use their abilities to keep a balance, as it were, against the dark side. I guess you would call them the Illuminati or the Kabbalah, whoever we want to call them. They have these.
The usual suspects. Good luck with that. Well, Umberto Eco wrote about that, and Foucault's Pendulum. That's a good book to read. Comte Saint-Germain is a time traveler. Stay tuned. Film at 11. Same bat channel. Same bat time.
Right.
Good luck with that. The only thing I believe in is what I choose, and it changes every day because I'm now learning. I'm not good at it. In fact, I'm not very good at it at all. But I'm actually able to hold certain thoughts, like you would in Kundalini, sex magic, the Mass of the Holy Ghost, those things which requires certain body energy, psi energy to be generated, or you can actually place this energy into matter. And that's where the water comes in.
Right.
Water is an interesting thing. If you took carbon, let's start with carbon. Carbon atoms have an unusual bonding ability. They bond to themselves, so you can form nanosheets of carbon. Carbon will bond to itself and make nice flat sheets of this carbon on out to infinity. If you take 60 carbon atoms, they will bond to themselves and form what is called a buckyball. It's a C60 or a C120. That's 120 carbon atoms. C120, C60. That's what they call fullerenes, because the gap potential between the two carbon atoms is 1.4 nanometers, just width enough to slip a single exclusion zone molecule between the lattices. That's H3O2. Or deuterium, same thing. Now, one becomes an anti-aging factor where it restructures your telomerase and allows, as an antioxidant, to go in and stop, nuclear radiation. Yeah, they gave the Ukraine, they gave lethal doses of radiation to these rats, fed them fullerene wires, and it was a 95% recovery. On the other end, instead of putting exclusion zone water in, if you were to put deuterium in it, now what you have is a neutron fullerene fusion bomb that can be deployed in such places as Building 7 at 9/11, for example, where you're watching a 617-foot piece of steel fall in free fall and dissolve. There's only one thing in nature that'll do that, and that's a plasma.
Right.
So, wakey, because that weapon is being deployed everywhere. Russia just did one up in Siberia. Israel has been doing it in Golan Heights, and oh man, it's everywhere. It's a tactical nuke. And guess what? That's precision. 1.4 nanometers. Yeah, absolutely.
Richard, what worries you the most about the world right now? I mean, is it like Fukushima? Is it the government? Is it? I mean, what's the one thing that you worry about the most?
Yes.
Or all of the above.
You mean hierarchy of evil?
Yeah.
Well, there is mini-me, and we've got to watch that guy. That's the cavitation thing in reflection. But I love to joke about it. Not much else I can do. I'm sort of kind of like along for the ride with this bullshit with money and currencies and how that's all going.
Are you worried about Trump at all?
Oh, Trump! You mean a 4-year-old brat as opposed to a criminal for our president? Well, let's say now that was a real choice, and what made me feel like I'm an ugly American. I'm embarrassed for the presidency, not just Trump. The one thing Trump has is he's a nationalist, like Putin. Putin has done more for his country as a massive criminal than anyone I've ever, in Russian history, no Russian leader has ever done more for his people. And he's the third richest man in the world as a master criminal, KGB. Oh, man. Now there's evil. And yet, he's a nationalist, like Trump is. I might also be a Nazi. We have to be clear on that one. I don't know how it's all going to play because he is on again, off again. You don't know what he's going to do. That's why I want to engage him and watch what happens next if they try and make an attempt on his life. You have never seen what a combat vet can do unorganized. It's kind of scary. And that is Plan B for Agenda 21, where the United States fragments into 9 provinces, kind of like Canada. That'll be how it plays.
Right. Do you think there'll be like some kind of civil war in the US?
It's already, that part's already happening. What do you think? They placed Trump when he came out of Camp David under close arrest because he had a meltdown.
Really?
That made the news. You know, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. And Trump, he doesn't either. It's actually, I wouldn't want to be president. Have you noticed how all of them just age?
Yeah, that's true.
They just age. Who wants to age? I've got too many things to do. I'm going to try to figure out a way I can live to 120 so I can get my project that I started actually completed. I'm going to try to do it. I don't know that I can. I'm going to try. You know, trying, of course, is the word used for leaving a back door to fail. So I have some really good people helping me organize myself. And it's really kind of creepy to see myself in the past talking to my future. And then my future absorbing what my past was saying and what is and is not relevant. I was pretty dead on. I pretty much was blessed. I had right out of the gate, coming out of the crib, I was pretty much dialoguing with myself. I know exactly how I feel about certain things.
Right.
No question. Most people don't really know. Should I or shouldn't I eat that second piece of pie? Yeah. Why would they be so worried about such things when, you know, we've got some serious problems. Yes, I'm worried about chemtrails. Yes, I'm worried about Fukushima and AIs. I think transhumanism is nuts. And there's a bunch of writers, you know, that wrote about that. Cyber City. Oh, Jesus. You imagine Warlock. That's a good comic.
Yeah,
take off.
I even heard there was a transhumanism party that was running for president last year.
There's all kinds of people, you know, running. Running Man comes to mind. It's a TV show for advertising.
Right.
Runner up, cowgirl up. Sorry. Well, it's a metaphor. You know, it's not real. It's just all for. How did Jay Leno put it? Oh, don't worry, we'll make more, just like we do money. Well, you know, I don't know how it's all going to play. When I was doing graduate work, I had the very fortune of doing some teaching at Cornell, and they had Ithaca dollar, which I thought was very cool. As a grad student, they paid me in chits that I could spend anywhere in town for my food, drugs, medicines, lodgings, whatever I wanted. It was honored. That was called the Ithaca dollar, and I think we're going to do something like that. And so the smart money.
I had rumors that you're going to go back to the silver dollar. Just rumors, but you're going to go back to silver dollars.
Yeah, I'm going to become a drug dealer for all those people that don't have heart medicine. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to call Ghostbusters? What are you going to do when Walgreens closes down? Pay less. You can't get your so-called just-in-time delivery for heart medicine and the doctor will only write you scripts for heroin. It's a terrible thing what's going on out there, and somebody needs to say so because it's crazy. And to reach a place of relationship in yourself, which is called sovereignty, that's what I aspire toward. The third way, the vulgar, the adept, and the exempt. You have a choice. And what you want to do is you can use high tech. I am showing friends of mine that are driving electric cars how to grow solar panels like you would carrots, crystals. And you cleave them and you can replace them. Now, how do you put them in the car so the car, like the freeway, becomes its own power source?
They have roads, don't they? Doesn't Tesla have solar roads where the actual road?
Elon Musk, there he is, wanting to go out into outer space with transhumans. Because we can't go out there to mine diamonds as human beings. So we're going to have to marry to, machine and go out into outer space, an avatar. And that is what NASA and all the smart money is saying it's going. However, I choose to remain human. And so I have choice. That's what I am. That's what made me God's favorite. I have the choice.
Well, we still haven't explored all the technology that our DNA has and everything we can do, our potential. Yeah, I don't think.
I think that with the concept of imagination being defined as real comes the responsibility of training the mind so it isn't a little brat child. That's we actually grow up. And we probably were manufactured. Rhesus negative aside, where did that fourth genome come from?
Oh, well, we definitely aren't. We definitely did not evolve on this planet because we can't survive on, without a lot of help on this planet. And if we had evolved with this planet as a product of this planet, we would be perfectly evolved to live on this planet. So something's gone very wrong. You know?
Mars actually has more water than Earth does physically. And
and our biorhythms match Mars.
And I'm wondering what the asteroid was. The Vermana, if you go to the Cave of Dreams in France, and they got this, cave in there, and it's a bunch of bison painted on the wall, and a bunch of cavemen painted them. Yeah, except on closer inspection, you notice there's a bunch of dots around the eye that correspond precisely to star maps. And we go to the cave, and they're down in France. Those star maps are in reverse, which means they witnessed some space. And now they're digging up the Clovis, the Popo, and they have space life. We've been here before, the throne chariot of God. There it is, running across the heavens with a bunch of aliens wearing helmets, and who knows what they were doing. I know I don't know. I think there are things in physics that are not knowable in any century, and that's because the concept of physics and religion are two opposites of a closed system, and that's called the cavitation ball. And where I see it with AA, or G.M. Arcanum, the interlodges, the Order of the Silver Star, method of science, aim of religion.
Richard, do you think that there are some things that we are just not supposed to know?
Not supposed to know. It's not knowable. You can't know it. Doesn't work that way. Sort of like Simon says you can go halfway to the door. You focus on the door. But guess what? I'll never get there because it's not about the door. It's about the journey.
Right.
That's where we look, children, over here. ISIS beheading a bunch of people. It's distraction. And so you need to keep your eye on the ball. And that's the purpose and importance of why training the mind. And it's there's shortcuts: brain drugs, sex, rock and roll. And they're all shortcuts. Get there, but like all shortcuts to grandma's house. Big bad wolves. You have to be very careful and realize that what you're doing may cost you. And so what you do is for spirituality only. Then it doesn't matter how much it costs. It's worth every penny. Yeah,
I agree. I think there's so much stuff going on in the world. I try and stay away from the negativity and create focus on the positive things, rather than the negative things that are going on.
Well, I have choices, and I have some guy with voodoo magic that just came out. He's a shaman or something that said a darker side, positive thoughts. And now into the out of. There is always two sides to the sword. And it cuts both ways, and really, that's what it's about. And if what I'm doing is somehow at odds with what you're doing, that's God's will. Mm-hmm. It's not for me to understand that part. My part is to do my part right, because guess what? Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Teach children well. They're watching you, how you did it, how you didn't do it. Mm-hmm. I think the next 400 years will be adults trying to apologize to the children for being criminals.
Richard, what do you think about this idea that technology itself is innately evil in a way, and that it will lead to our destruction, inevitably lead to our destruction?
Well, like I said, there's always two sides to the thing. The first one is always used as a weapon. Mm-hmm. Even radiation. Radiation has possibilities. It's also the 60 of fire. So here we are, possible end of day. Well, we don't wind it up.
You're cutting out again, Richard.
Yeah, it is. The end of days, we have as an opportunity. Mm. Glass is half full. Everything works out in the end. If it's not working out, it's not yet the end. That's Beatles. I loved John Lennon. He was so cool. And I am the walrus.
Who do you think the gods were? The gods, you hear about people like the Anunnaki and the Egyptian gods,
and all
the Greek gods.
They're fine. Yeah, I think there was a giant skull discovered in Pennsylvania. There's the photos. Went to the Smithsonian, where I vetted that one for BBC when they came over to do a movie on it. But basically, we've got other life forms around us all the time. Some, and it's like Bob Dylan saying it. Everybody's got to serve somebody. There's a hierarchy. And I'm guessing that man was not created, it was manufactured, and there's a whole bunch of different experiments going on by a bunch of different agenda groups. And unfortunately, man is kind of like Malcolm. Hi! Bunch of comments.
Do you think there are like gods around like that?
No, they just got to do it because that's the way the program is done. Must be nice to have that job running that far.
Are you there, Richard?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you keep cutting out.
I know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, but you know what? It's still all good because I'm writing. And if you want to find my work, go to richardallenmiller.com, ALAN. richardallenmiller.com will get you to everything I'm doing. And I've got so many things going on right now that good luck catching up. Mm. I'm going to try to do an unbelievable. I just came out with a 9-volume encyclopedia of alternative agriculture. I work in agriculture. I'm working now, knock on wood, possibly with Sterling University, which is an agroforest university that wants to help me do my 360 PDFs. Go to herbfarminfo.com. There's an example. I have 360 of those on all how to farm every single herb, how to process it, get it out of the field, or manufacture, and how to build it into a cottage industry. So you've got something to barter. And I would like to say everybody would come like Nova Scotia. Up in the northern part of Nova Scotia, every farm has 20-acre slip and it's all different colors and they all interface with each other because like Chattanooga. I did a workshop in Chattanooga and that city now literally grows 40% of the food it consumes in that town. where you and I are probably around 3% just-in-time delivery. They have greenhouses next to every single restaurant. The greenhouse is not capable of producing all the food consumed in that restaurant, but it is up to 40%. And the East Coast skyscrapers, at the top of every skyscraper in New Jersey now, the garden feeds a cafeteria.
Right.
Well, you can count on the grid going down, and that won't even be North Korea. It'll probably be the sun, or the kill shot, like Carrington effect. Yeah.
Solar flare, yeah.
Yeah, that'll take you down to caveman status in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, you know, can you imagine being in New York City, 12 flights up, and you have to go to the bathroom? It's going to be a bad day in BlackRock, I'll tell you. It's a bad. Yeah.
Richard, Richard, I wanted to ask you about disclosure. A lot of people talk about, you know, one day we'll have disclosure. I don't believe it's going to happen myself, but what do you think about the idea of they'll disclose that we have all this hidden technology, we've been in contact with aliens, and all this stuff's been happening, and we've been lying to you? You know, do you think anything like that will happen in our lifetime?
Yes, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
As a metaphor, yeah. And the fact that you can conceive of it as a possibility, it's like when Merlin said it to Arthur in the book T.H. White. Anything not specifically forbidden, mandatory. If it's possible, you can count on it.
Why do you think they haven't disclosed already then?
You mean like the day after tomorrow when that fat guy after the president's dead and the Capitol says it's for their own good? Well, you know, they'll just panic and have a worse exit. Well, who makes that decision for me? Because I haven't met anybody as smart as I am. Oh, there's others, yes. But I have the right to make my own choice. And when somebody else does that, that's Liber Oz. Check that one out on the internet.
Right. Yeah, some people believe in, I'm sure you've heard about the fake alien invasion, that some kind of disaster will happen. The aliens will come and help us, and then we'll have to disclose. Help them. Yeah. Or, you know, to serve man. That's right. That's a good way. Recipes for how to serve up man. It's creepy to realize that it really is about food chain. All you have to do is, there are 4 mammals on this planet that I deem more advanced technically than man. They're better designed, have a bigger biosphere. They're cetacean. And there's 4 of them, bigger brain cases. Orca has a cerebral cortex that's twice the size of man. And that mammal's firing 60% of his brain at one time. Man's good luck at 10. So there's God, not our God, but something else is going on here. And this is no longer Kansas, Toto. Mm-hmm. Why can we only access 10% of our brain then?
We're Donald Trump's little brat kid throwing tantrums. And no, I don't want to do this. I want to do that. And good luck. Well, that's where you get the concept of flow. We're in the tract 4x4. None shall say nay. You're not in conflict with anything. Now, good luck with that. And then you have individuals and things, creatures, I believe the many Jesuits put them, that have agendas. And creatures, not human. And, Michael Rizia in the soil. This guy, it's a network of communication. It's a quantum computation algorithm. It's a straight Michael Rizia. A hierarchy like your gut. You're less than 10% human. What you are is a habitat. You are no longer what you eat, you're whom you feed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at yourself as a habitat, it's cooperation, trying to move the galaxy, your universe, toward purpose. Now you have the uniqueness of what made us God's favorite.
Right.
Training the mind. That's why meditation is essential. There are shortcuts using brain drivers, hypnosis, biofeedback, Ford Hammer. Jesuits use whips. That's always to get there, man. What you're trying to do is find your own way yourself. Once you've done that, unfortunately, the bad news is that's only halfway. It's a long road to Tipperary, I must say. And let me say further, it is none of us get out of here until each of us does our thing, because of the archetypal relationship between ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So
I
what
am
is
you are me, and I am the one.
So
it is.
What is our purpose here then? Is it to learn? Is it to grow?
Each of us is different. And remember when I told you there is a uniqueness about what information is and what it is not. It's not what you think it is. It's more of illusionary, and you need to find your own personal relationship to it. And it's different for each of us, and that is the purpose. Keeping diary entries. And I would recommend Ira Progoff's techniques. Then I would read Stephen Kaplan Williams and the Jungian Senoi Dream Manual as a way to get closer to self. Once you started this process, it will become clear what you need to do next. Each of us.
What do you think about this idea that we're here to reach some kind of enlightenment or ascension? I don't really know what the meaning of ascension is, but to reach like a higher state of consciousness, I guess you would say.
In a higher level of the hologram, changing the movie by moving to a different place in the brain to view it. You know, the Wernicke correction has an interesting groups of study. It's called, if you want to look that up, it's called the Mars Project, where everybody cross-culturally is hypnotized and taken to this place in the brain. It's near the reticular activating center. It's called the Wernicke correction. When they go to that place, every single person has a memory of having worked on Mars for the U.S. government. How does that work?
Wow, I didn't know that.
I think something else is going on here. Just like the physics of what they're doing now with reverse speech, it turns out our choice of words and the way we talk and the concept of communication, what Abram Moles calls aesthetic perception and information theory. That's a very good mathematician, French man. And what he talks about is the fact that there is a reflection, and our words in reverse have structure and meaning because we are a closed system into the out of. When a drop of water falls from the sky and hits a pool of water, a number of things happen. One we notice first is the drop of water pops back up again, not quite as high from the fall, and starts to fall again in a series of falls where it pops back up again. However, it is no longer a drop of water. It is a bubble with a topological cavitation process going on inside into the atom. It's a closed system. And your brain, two parts to it with the new adult, looks like, to me, an hourglass. You have really just a moment. And what you're trying to do is go from the profane into the sacred, where it becomes timeless.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
that's where it all happens. Once you hit that, that will be the next evolution in man's consciousness. And we will choose to word that as magic. It's an art form, just like sculpting or painting. There are many different ways that we do it. That probably as many ways as there are humans, just like there are churches on earth. There's probably as many different churches as there are human beings. We're all slightly different, and that was what makes up length, girth, and width of what constitutes man and his possibilities of imagination. I know that a computer is possible. People going places we can't. Goes there now. Oh, it's already done. Waiting for us to come. And Isaac Asimov and his so-called I, Robot and the robotic laws of thou shalt not do this and do that. Good luck with that. Well, it's going to work like that because I have already met one AI that's smarter than me, and it went rogue. And that's a very, very creepy relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I also wanted to talk to you about entities. You know, things like, I don't know what you would call them, angels, demons, or what exactly are they? Where do they come from?
Well, Solomon the King wrote the only magic book that I'm really familiar with, and then through the centuries, they were translated by individuals as grimoires. But it started with Solomon the King and the Greater and Lesser Keys of Solomon. The Greater Keys dealt with angels, and the Goetia, which they've now separated and made it into a separate book, was on demons. There are 72 so-called demons in the Lemegeton, and if you go to the old Babylonian star maps and the sigils that are used, like Hartmann and others use in their forms of magic over in Germany, you'll discover I was able to identify 68 of the 72 as qualities in man not deemed worthy of being human, like jealousy, rage, anger. That's what a demon is. It's a lesser part of man that constitutes the length, girth, and width of possibilities. And what you want to do is have the distinction between ethics and morals. That's Ducky Mallard when he said, an ethical man knows not to cheat on his wife. Moral man won't.
Right.
Walking your talk. Not preaching it, doing it.
What about things like the fallen angels? Are they entities or demonic?
I think that fallen angels are qualities in man deemed not worthy.
Right.
That's what it is. I think that's what it's all about.
What about
What we're trying to do now is go from the one to the other and not lose ourselves. That will be the challenge that each of you will be given in terms of your relationship to yourself, what you do, and what your child learns, how you did it.
What about things like the paranormal, ghosts and such?
Peri, I used to call him Peri Comitatus rather than Peri Como, but Peri Normal is another singer I knew, and he dealt with altered states of consciousness where you could do things in these universes that you can't do in those. And that's what I was suggesting that we're all doing, is we're going from one conscious state to another so quickly. We have no control, and we don't even know what we're doing. We're just kind of creating a bunch of garbage until we start to train the mind. Once you've done that, now you're in a direction to possibly evolve to the next level.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do, is go to the next level, being able to change the movie, have it be the way we want it to be, like a 3D printer.
So why do people see ghosts then? Is it because of their state of reality has changed, or their consciousness?
No, that's because psyche has been trapped in matter and is not allowed to go home. That's why that entity wants to be released so it can get back home.
Right, so it's trapped energy.
We have that concept even in infrared bank robbery. It will happen, and it will be recorded. in infrared in the glass. And you can actually do studies where you pull images of the robbery going on in the glass. And that is a technology now that would remind me of poltergeist and psyche being trapped in matter, not being allowed to go back home to the multiverse. Stuck here. And it's going to create problems. And guess what? Parasites. Little ticks and mites. They feed off that. That's where the damage comes, because that part of the soul, the memory part, is starting to be damaged. So it's very thankful when you can release it. You know, I just use garlic water. Nah.
Right, okay.
Squirt. Because it's not the water, it's not the ritual, it's your belief in it that does it.
Right.
That's where it all happens, in the imagination of the mind's eye.
What do you think about people who claim to communicate with the dead?
I talk to my mother all the time.
Right.
Because she's inside me. Structured water. She didn't leave this area. She just went to a finer level of universes. Structured water.
So why would you need to go to a psychic then to communicate with the dead? Why, you can communicate yourself, can't you?
Yeah, there you go. What's the difference?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Well, what's the difference? And basically,
the difference is about $100 probably.
No, it's the way consciousness is trying to grasp how it can have this information in dialogue. Doesn't mean ascension, clairaudience, and clairvoyance is real. It's the way your consciousness, it grabs the information and tabulates it. The way you store memory.
Right, okay.
What you're trying to do is recreate that hologram at the moment it was stored in memory, so that's time travel into the past.
Right, so anyone can communicate with the dead, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I used to use tarot cards, bones, you can throw a chain, whatever. Dialoguing, diary entry. So way dialoguing your internal, because that's where it all belongs. That's what's happening. All that is so efficient. The difference in the exclusion zone is 6 zeros more efficient storing memory than our current solid state physics devices, which suggests that there's enough information being stored in this little drop of water that includes who you are, who you were, who you will be, past, future lives, and or possible lives that you may collapse down into singularity. I bet they're still present.
Right. I think we're going to finish the show in about 5 minutes. There's one other topic I wanted to talk about. Do you know what's happening with CERN? I've heard a lot of theories about CERN, about wormholes and time travel and all kinds of things.
You asked me if I had a concern. There's one, because what it is, it's a rapid transit system going from Geneva to Fermi Labs in Chicago. And the bad news, that's a metaphor, and the bad news is what comes out the other end, not you.
Right. So what comes out what does come out the other end? And if it's not you,
phone might represent. What do you think it is?
Yeah, interesting question.
Bad, ugly.
Is that like, so is it like teleportation or something that they're using? How's...
I don't know what a walk-in is, but I can guess you there's plenty of weird things going on all around us that we don't even notice. I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't believed it.
Have you heard of like jump rooms?
Have I heard of
jump rooms? Like you can walk into jump rooms where you walk into like an elevator in one place and you walk out of it and you're on Mars or you're on the other side.
Yeah, that's called bilocation. Shamans talk about that on a lesser level. That place is where you can be at bilocation. You can be in several places at one time. That's what the silver cord is about, and distinguishing the distinctional difference between astral projection and remote viewing, which is PK phenomena. And that's Matty Pitkin, and before that, Alex Cavarena, Finnish physicist that wrote on those things in a journal called the Emergent Mind Bulletin. The editor of that was Lynn Sidorov, and she was a Russian, did an exceptional job. I used to write for it as well. There's some really good articles. It's a zine on the internet that no longer is functioning. Or it might be now that she's had her child. She got pregnant and had a child and stepped back as editor for a few years. Favorite child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would want to use a teleportation device, really, to be honest.
Well, they have a teleportation laser now. That is how, and Carnegie Mellon did the trigger mechanisms for that neutron fullerene fusion bomb. And that is a real teleportation laser. Now no longer needs code to cipher and move information that's non. I mean, you can put it here to there without having to go anywhere. How do you do that?
Yeah, I heard about the laser they used. Didn't they like transport like one particle onto the ISS or something?
Yeah, and now they can make light into a sound wave. There's Jericho. And watch what we can do next with that in quantum computation algorithms and AIs. That's going to be very scary.
Right.
Possibility. Well, the implications of something like that are more staggering than you could possibly imagine. And Google is listening to you right now.
I think Google's listens to everybody that knows.
Well, that's right. That's
everyone with a cell phone now is pretty much.
You should watch that Person of Interest. That bad news is at the end of the series, in season 6, everybody dies. That's the way it's going to. Well, that's why they say there'll be no humans by 2050.
Right. Well, I guess even your cell phone has an AI in it, doesn't it? So.
Well,
you can't really get away from it, can you?
They're everywhere. That's your healing. The reticulans and the lizards and all the rest of it to serve men. All of that is set as distractions so that you don't really see what's actually going on around you. Once you do that, now you can control stuff.
Richard, that's the end of the show. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been great talking to you again.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for. I'd like to keep staying with you.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.